Okay, so insurance. Maybe not the most exciting thing we've talked about.
Right. Not exactly a thriller, is it?
No, but I think it's actually way more interesting than people realize. We're going to try and prove that today.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot more to it than just like, paying those bills and hoping you never actually have to use it.
Right, exactly. Like, what is it actually doing, and why is it such a big part of, well, pretty much everything?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, the foundation of a lot of stuff. You don't always see it, but
Right, it's there, working in the background.
exactly.
Okay, so to get started today, you sent me a bunch of stuff. Looks like articles, research reports, even some like stories about specific cases.
Yeah, I thought it'd be good to get a mix, see it from different angles.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the goal is to kind of figure out, like, how does this whole system actually work, and why should we care
Hmm.
beyond just, oh no, I had an accident, I need insurance.
Right. Like, what are the things that people miss? The stuff that could really trip you up, or even better, the things that could help you out.
Okay, yeah. So like the secrets of insurance.
Hopefully. Yeah. We'll see what we find.
Okay, so first things first. What IS insurance actually? Is it just about paying for accidents?
Well, that's part of it, but it's really about transferring risk. Like you're paying a company to basically take on that burden if something bad happens, car accident, house fire, whatever.
So it's like I'm paying you to worry for me.
In a way, yeah, you're paying for peace of mind.
Okay, but how does that actually work? Like on a practical level? Yep. How can they afford to pay out these huge amounts when something does happen?
Okay, so that's where the whole risk pooling thing comes in. Imagine like a giant pot of money, right? Everyone who has insurance is putting a little bit in all the time. Those are your premiums.
Okay, so everyone chips in?
Right. And most people, thankfully, won't actually need to use the money. But the few people who do, like let's say they get in a really bad car accident, they can draw from that pot to cover those huge costs.
Okay, so it's kind of like we're all supporting each other in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a system of shared risk.
Okay, that makes sense. But then there's all these terms like premiums and deductibles and, I don't know, coverage limits and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like my eyes glaze over every time I hear them.
Yeah, it can definitely get a bit confusing. It's like its own language almost.
Can we break some of those down?
Sure, yeah. So premiums, think of those as your membership fee, right?
Yeah.
You're paying to be part of that risk-sharing pool. And deductibles, that's the amount you agree to pay out of pocket before the insurance kicks in. Like the higher your deductible, the lower your premiums usually are.
Okay, so it's a trade-off. Like, I pay less each month, but if something happens, I might have to pay more upfront.
Exactly. You got to find that balance.
Right. And what about those coverage limits?
That's the maximum amount the insurance company will pay out for a specific thing. So, if your coverage limit is lower, your premiums will be lower. But if something really big happens, you might not be fully covered.
Okay, so it's really important to understand all this stuff because it actually determines how protected you are.
Yeah, it's like you got to read the fine print so you know what you're actually getting.
Right, right. Okay, but even when you get past all that, there's still like a million different types of insurance.
Mhm.
Car, house, health, life. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. And I think that's where people get confused or make mistakes. Either they're not covered enough for some things or they're paying for stuff they don't even need.
Okay, so how do we know what's essential? What's like the must-have versus the optional stuff?
It depends, really, on your situation, Like car insurance, that's pretty much non-negotiable most places. But even within that, there's different levels of coverage. Liability, collision, comprehensive. It depends on how old your car is, how much you drive, even your financial situation, how much risk you're comfortable with.
So it's not just like, okay, I need car insurance, done.
Nope, there's definitely some decisions to be made.
And it's like that with all the other types too.
Yeah, pretty much like renter's insurance. A lot of people skip that, but it can really save you if, say, there's a fire or someone breaks in and steals your stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. Or like, I'm a freelancer. Do I need, what is the disability insurance?
That's a good one to think about, yeah. It protects your income if you can't work because you get sick or injured.
So it's all about thinking ahead and figuring out what could really mess things up if it happened.
Exactly. It's better to be prepared.
Okay, so big takeaway so far. Don't just take the first insurance policy someone offers you. Actually figure out what you need.
Exactly. It's like buying a car. You wouldn't just buy the first one you see without doing any research, right?
Right, right. Okay, so we've got the basics,
Yeah.
what it is, some of those confusing terms, the different types. But now I want to talk about the thing everyone dreads, filing a claim. Like, what do people need to know to make that whole process less painful?
Okay, well, first off, documentation is key. Keep track of everything. Photos, receipts, police reports if there are any, everything that's related to what happened.
Who just be super organized.
Yeah, and also make sure you understand what your policy actually says, like the terms and conditions, especially when it comes to deadlines for filing that claim.
So don't wait too long.
Right. The sooner you report it, the better. Delays can make things more complicated.
It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. Just get it over with.
Exactly. Plus, the insurance company might be suspicious if you wait too long, like you're trying to hide something.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
And even if you do everything right, there's still a chance your claim could be denied.
Really? Even if you followed all the rules?
Yeah. One of the biggest reasons is people just don't understand what their policy covers. They assume they're protected for something, and then bam, it turns out they're not.
So it's not just about having insurance, it's about having the right kind.
Exactly. You got to make sure it actually covers the things you need it to.
Wow, okay. I'm starting to see why people get stressed about this stuff.
Yeah, it can definitely be tricky, but the more you understand, the better prepared you are, right?
Okay, so knowledge is power when it comes to insurance. Got it. But let's go back to that risk pooling thing for a second.
Sure, yeah, what about it?
I think it's worth spending a bit more time on because it's such a big part of how this whole system works.
Yeah, definitely. It's the foundation of insurance, really.
So remind me again, how does it work?
Okay, so basically, it's the idea that we're spreading the risk around across a whole bunch of people. So the cost of any one person's loss, it gets shared by everyone.
It's like we're all in it together.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes it affordable. If everyone had to pay for their own potential risks, forget it. It would be way too expensive.
Okay, that makes sense. But does it only apply to, like, traditional insurance policies? Or is this something we see in other parts of life, too?
Oh, it's definitely a bigger idea than just insurance. It's all over the place once you start looking for it.
Really? Like what?
Well, think about warranties. When you buy an extended warranty for something, you're basically pooling your risk with all the other people who bought that same warranty.
Oh, right. So the warranty company is betting that most people won't need to use it.
Exactly. But the few who do, they're covered by the money that came from everyone who bought it.
Huh. That's interesting. Never thought of it like that.
And what about the stock market? That's another example. When you diversify your investments, you're spreading your risk across different companies and industries.
So if one company does badly, hopefully others do well and it balances out.
Right. You're reducing the impact of any one loss.
So diversification is like risk pooling for your money.
Exactly. And you know what else is kind of like that? Government programs. Things like Social Security, unemployment benefits. We all contribute through taxes, and that creates a pool of money to support people who need it when they retire or if they can't work.
Wow. Yeah, I never thought of those programs that way either. But it's true. It's like we're all contributing to a system that protects us from certain things that could really mess up our lives.
Exactly. It's about creating a safety net.
Okay, so risk transfer and pooling, it's not just about insurance. It's woven into, like, the fabric of our society.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's about more than just individuals. It's about economic stability and social well-being, the whole picture.
Okay, so we've talked about insurance being a good thing, right? A way to manage risk, protect ourselves. But what happens if you don't have enough coverage? Like, what are the consequences?
Oh, that's a big one. It can get really serious financially.
Really? Like, how bad are we talking?
Well, imagine you're in a car accident, right? And you only have the minimum amount of insurance you're legally required to have. If the damages are more than what your policy covers, you're personally responsible for the rest.
Ouch, that doesn't sound good.
No, it's not. You could end up in a lot of debt, maybe even have to declare bankruptcy.
So you think you're saving money by having less coverage, but it could actually backfire big time.
Exactly. It's like playing with fire financially.
And it's not just car insurance, right?
Nope. Same goes for things like health insurance. If you don't have enough, you could get hit with massive medical bills you can't afford. Or if you don't have enough home insurance and there's a fire or a natural disaster, you could be stuck trying to rebuild your life with very little help.
Okay, so the message here is don't mess around with insurance. Get the coverage you actually need.
Exactly. It's not just about protecting your stuff. It's about protecting your future, your financial security, your peace of mind.
Right, because if something bad happens, you don't want to be caught without a safety net.
Exactly. You got to think about the worst case scenario and make sure you're prepared.
Okay, good advice. And, it's not like you have to figure all this out on your own. There are people who can help, right?
Oh, absolutely. Insurance brokers, financial advisors. There are even websites that can help you compare different policies.
So do your research, ask questions, don't be afraid to shop around.
Exactly. The more informed you are, the better choices you can make.
Okay, I'm feeling a lot more confident about this now. But before we move on, I want to touch on something we haven't really talked about much, the human side of insurance. We've been focusing on the technical stuff, the money side, but it's about people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, insurance is about helping people. It's about being there for them when things go wrong.
Yeah, like that sense of security, knowing that you're not alone if something bad happens.
Exactly. And I think that's something we can lose sight of sometimes when we get caught up in all the details and jargon.
Right, it's easy to forget that there are real people behind all this.
And real stories and real emotions. That's what it's all about, ultimately.
Okay, well said. Now, I think we're ready to shift gears and talk about the future of insurance. All this technology stuff, how's that changing things?
Yeah, and technology is definitely changing the game. It feels like everything is going digital these days.
Right, like less paperwork, more algorithms and AI.
Yeah.
But how does that actually affect, like, me buying insurance? What does it look like?
Well, think about how we use data in other parts of life. Like those streaming services, they recommend shows based on what you've watched before. Right?
Yeah, and my fitness tracker, that's always collecting data about how much I'm moving around.
Exactly. And insurance is kind of starting to use data in the same way.
So they're not just putting people into, like, these big general categories anymore. They're looking at individual stuff.
Yeah. They want to get a more detailed picture of the risk. Like with car insurance, imagine your premiums being based on your actual driving habits.
Wait, really? Like how fast I drive or what?
Yeah, things like speed, braking, even what time of day you're on the road, they can get all that data from telematics devices or even apps on your phone.
So if I'm a really safe driver, I could get a lower premium.
Potentially, yeah. And if you're, let's say, a bit more of a spirited driver,
Yeah, I like to put my foot down sometimes.
well, you might see your rates go up.
Okay, so it's like they're watching everything I do.
Not in a creepy way. It's all about assessing the risk more accurately.
Right,
way.
right. But it's not just about pricing, is it? You mentioned AI and stuff.
Yeah, they're using that to speed up the claims process too. Like imagine having an accident and being able to report it through a chatbot.
Oh, like those things on websites that pop up and ask if you need help.
Exactly. And then you could upload photos of the damage and the AI could give you an estimate for the repairs almost instantly.
No more waiting on hold forever. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it would definitely be a lot faster and easier.
Yeah.
And in some cases, they can even automate the approval process.
So I wouldn't even have to talk to a real person.
Maybe not. If it's a straightforward claim, the AI could handle it all.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So it's like less hassle for the customer and faster payouts.
Exactly. It's a win-win, potentially.
But are insurance companies actually, like, on board with all this? I feel like some of them are kind of old school.
It's true. There are some that are slower to adapt. But a lot of them are embracing it. They see the potential. And then you've got all these new insurtech startups popping up.
Insurrect.
Insurtech. They're basically tech companies that are focused on insurance. They're built around using data and AI from the very beginning.
Oh, so they're like the disruptors, shaking things up.
Exactly. And that competition is good for everyone, really. It pushes the whole industry to innovate and offer better products and services.
So in the end, it's the customers who benefit.
Hopefully, yeah. We get more choices, better prices, and a more personalized experience overall.
Okay, that makes sense. But I keep thinking back to that human side of insurance. All this technology, does that mean we're losing that personal touch?
That's a good question. I don't think it have to be that way, though. I think technology can actually make that human element even stronger.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. Instead of spending hours on paperwork and administrative stuff, insurance agents can use technology to free up their time.
So they can actually spend more time with their clients.
Exactly. They can focus on understanding their needs, giving them personalized advice, building those relationships.
Okay, so it's not about replacing humans. It's about letting them do what they do best.
Exactly. It's about using technology to make things more efficient so we can focus on the things that really matter.
Right, right. Okay, so that's kind of reassuring. But with all this talk of data and algorithms, I have to ask, what about privacy? Is my information safe?
Yeah, that's a really important question, and it's something you should definitely be thinking about. Like any industry that uses personal data, there are risks.
So what can I do? How do I know if my data is safe with an insurance company?
Well, first off, you got to read the fine print, not just for the policy itself, but for their data privacy policies too.
Okay, so double the fine print. Got it.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. Any reputable company should be happy to explain how they're using your data and how they're keeping it secure.
So be informed, be proactive. Don't just blindly trust anyone with your data.
Exactly. It's your information. You have a right to know how it's being used.
Okay, good advice. So we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We've talked about the history of insurance, how those policies and claims work, and now we're looking at the future with all this technology stuff coming in. What's the biggest takeaway for our listeners? What do they really need to remember?
I think the main thing is insurance is not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's complicated, there's a lot to it, and it's always changing. But the more you understand the basics and the more questions you ask, the better decisions you can make.
So it's about taking control, being informed.
Exactly. You don't have to be an expert, but you do have to be an active participant in the process.
Okay, that makes sense. And remember, it's not just about protecting your stuff. It's about protecting your future, your peace of mind, all of that.
Exactly. It's about being able to live your life without being constantly worried about what might happen.
Well said. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this part of our deep dive into the world of insurance. We hope you're finding this as interesting as we are.
Yeah, maybe even a little bit surprising.
Right. It's not all boring paperwork and confusing jargon.
There's actually a lot to think about.
Exactly. So stay tuned for the final part, where we're going to dive even deeper into the future of insurance and what it might mean for all of us. So we talked about insurance being kind of this safety net and how important the human side of things is. But what about all the technology stuff? That feels like it's a huge part of, well, everything these days.
It really is. Insurance is changing so fast because of technology.
Yeah, it's like everything's going digital. Less paperwork, more, I don't know, algorithms and AI and all that. But what does that actually mean for someone like me? Like if I'm buying insurance, what changes?
Well, think about how we already use data in other areas of our lives.
Like streaming services, my watch.
Yeah. Those streaming services recommend shows based on what you've watched, right? And your watch is tracking your steps and heart rate and all that. Insurance is starting to use data in the same ways.
Okay, so instead of just putting me in a category like 30-year-old driver, they're looking at my actual behavior.
Exactly. They want a more detailed picture to assess the risk more accurately.
Like with car insurance.
Yeah, imagine your premium being based on your actual driving habits. How fast you go, how hard you brake, even what time of day you're driving.
Wait, so they can actually tell all that?
Yeah, they can get that data from telematics devices or even apps on your phone.
Wow, that's kind of wild. So if I'm a really safe driver, I could get a lower premium.
Potentially, yeah. And if you, let's say, have a bit of a lead foot, your rates might go up. It's all about using data to make things more personalized.
So it's not just about prices, right? You mentioned AI can help with claims too.
Absolutely. Imagine having an accident and being able to report it to a chatbot.
Like those things on websites that pop up and ask if you need help.
Yeah, exactly. You could upload photos of the damage, and the AI could give you an estimate for the repairs almost instantly.
No more waiting on hold forever. That sounds amazing.
Right. And in some cases, the AI can even handle the whole approval process for straightforward claims. It makes things so much faster and easier.
Wow, so technology is making insurance more efficient, more personalized, and faster. That all sounds good.
It definitely has the potential to make things better for customers, but it's important to remember technology is a tool. It's how we use it that matter.
Okay, that makes sense. But are all insurance companies on board with this tech revolution? I feel like some of them are a bit, I don't know, old school.
You're right, some are definitely slower to adapt, but a lot of them are embracing technology, they see the potential, and then you got all these new insurtech startups popping up.
Insur what?
It's insurtech. They're basically tech companies focused specifically on insurance. They're built around using data and AI from the very beginning.
Oh, so they're like the disruptors shaking things up.
Yeah, exactly. And that competition is good for everyone, really. It pushes the whole industry to innovate and offer better products and services.
So the customers benefit in the end.
Hopefully, yeah. We get more choices, better prices, and a more personalized experience overall.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking back to that human side of insurance we were talking about. Does all this technology mean we're losing that personal touch?
That's a great question, and it's something to be mindful of. But I think technology can actually enhance the human element, not replace it.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. If Insurance agents aren't bogged down with paperwork and administrative tasks. They can use technology to free up their time.
So they can spend more time with their clients.
Exactly. They can focus on building relationships, understanding their clients' needs, and providing more personalized advice.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about using technology to help people do what they do best.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, insurance is about people, right? It's about helping people protect what matters most to them and providing that peace of mind.
Right. But with all this data flying around, I have to ask, what about privacy? Is my information safe in this new insurance world?
That's a crucial question, and it's something you should definitely be thinking about. Like any industry that uses personal data, there are risks involved.
So what can I do to protect my privacy?
Well, first, read the fine print, not just for the policy itself, but for their data privacy policies too. A good company will be transparent about how they're using your data and how they're keeping it safe.
So don't just blindly trust anyone.
Exactly. Ask questions. If a company isn't willing to answer your questions about data privacy, that's a red flag.
Okay, good advice. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the world of insurance. We've explored the history and principles of insurance, delved into the complexities of policies and claims, and even glimpsed into the future of this ever-evolving industry.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. But what's the key takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing they should really remember?
I think the most important thing is this. Insurance is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a complex system, and it's constantly changing. But by understanding the basics, asking the right questions, and staying informed, you can make smart decisions about your insurance needs and protect yourself and the things that matter most to you.
So it's about taking control, being proactive, and not just letting insurance happen to you.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to something as important as insurance.
Absolutely. And remember, insurance isn't just about protecting your assets. It's about protecting your peace of mind, your dreams, your future. It's about knowing you have a safety net so you can go out there and live your life to the fullest.
All said.
And on that note, we wrap up our deep dive into the world of insurance. We hope you found it insightful, maybe even a little bit surprising. Remember, insurance might not be the most glamorous topic, but it's something that touches all of our lives in one way or another. So stay curious, stay informed, and stay protected.